All right. Here's part two. We got Brandon Johnson again talking about the migrants. This is the Chicago mayor that loves the migrants more than the citizens. Let's get into this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about this guy, Brandon Johnson.
They're showing up sick. Do you hear me? They're showing up sick.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon.
You only recently were able to clear migrants out of the police stations, but now it appears that the flow is back and there are migrants at police stations again. And there are now reports that the buses that could be subject to seizure or towing if they don't obey the rules are starting to leave people outside of Chicago and giving them train fare to get into the city. First off, what do you think about that tactic, and what can the city do?
Well, first of all, this international crisis that the entire world is dealing with, the type of chaos that's being administered at the border is what we're, working to solve. And from the very beginning, the buses coming from Texas have not centered people's humanity, and it's actually been quite raggedy. What I've attempted to do, because it's important in this moment, because the entire world is
This
reeling
guy
for
right here.
answers. The city of Chicago is providing some structure and parameters around this mission. That's what leaders do in this moment. And so we've stood up multiple shelters. We have thousands of children who are in our public schools right now. Most of them are in preschool or up to third grade. And, it's disheartening that the governor of Texas is literally invoking chaos without having like a real clear willingness to coordinate. And all we simply did, to your question around the ordinance, was to create better coordination. Now, Alderman Hall is here. There were others who went to the border to have conversations at the border.
He's another one you got to watch, that Alderman Hall guy. That all of a sudden, when the migrant crisis really kicked off up here last year, started, wanting a lot of camera time. This guy seems faker than a $2 bill. This guy doesn't seem trustworthy at all. I'm not impressed by him. Every time I see him, I think he's a plant.
And having coordination is what is the minimum expectation. Now, if you remember back in May, when I was sworn in, I believe there were almost 900 or so people living in police districts. And I said from the very beginning that this is not dignified. And so we've worked hard to eliminate people from living on floors.
Wow, he said it's not dignified for the migrants, but it's dignified enough for the citizens of Chicago, because these guys do absolutely nothing or very little at the least to try to address the homelessness issue here in the city.
Who are showing up in Chicago in some of the worst health conditions. And I did get reports that there are about 20 people, I believe, that are scattered throughout the city of Chicago and police districts, and we'll respond to it. But again, a month ago, there were 4,000. Look, Alderman Burnett has already expressed this. It wasn't a failure to acknowledge our victories.
Well, he's another disappointment, Alderman Walter Burnett. Total disappointment, disgrace. He's been trying to act like he's much for the people since, this is a political opportunity with the migrants. But before this came up, this guy Burnett wasn't doing anything to really benefit the people of the city. All of his policies were policies he supported were policies that took money out the pockets of the citizens.
Sometimes we do so much, we don't keep track of the work that we're doing. We just do it. And no matter how contrite, that sometimes, people are in this moment, it doesn't, excuse the poor behavior that's coming from Texas. And so we're going to continue to provide structure and order and direction in this moment, because that's what the people of Chicago deserve, and that's what we're giving them.
Mayor, the shelter at Halstead and Cermak, a 5-year-old boy was there shortly before he died this weekend. There have been reports that their conditions are unsafe, unsanitary. Do you have confidence that that shelter is safe for people to live? I believe there's over 2,000 people living there.
Well, again, let me just emphasize again, the conditions in which people are arriving in Chicago are quite disturbing. The people who are at the border sleeping outside in the cold, out in the rain, trekking through thousands of miles of jungles.
Now, whose fault was it to trek through those thousands of miles of jungles? Whose fault was it to be sleeping outside in the cold and the rain? What did they think they were going to come over here and there's going to be luxury housing? There's going to be any type of housing waiting available? Knowing that America has a homeless issue as a country? Come on now.
Being forced on buses without any clear direction of where they're going. And while children and women were living on floors in police districts, and my administration eliminated that practice, there were ambulatory runs, 911 calls, because again, people are showing up in very extreme circumstances, very, very unhealthy. And so what I'm confident is that all of our levels of government are coming together to provide support for these individuals who are seeking asylum.
If only all of the levels of government can do the same for the citizens. Wouldn't that be the right thing to do, Brandon?
And we're going to continue to assess.
Oh, by the way, go Brandon. You guys hit that like and subscribe button. Leave your thoughts in the
Our work as
comments.
we move forward, and of course, we're providing support for the family, and we are obviously deeply sorry and hurt.
And it sounds like the man is trying to force himself to cry, like he's deeply sorry. So you so deeply sorry about this migrant, but you're not deeply sorry about the stuff that you see in the city. You are from the West Side. You're from an area that's not the best area. So you see the same stuff that you're talking about the migrants. You see that every day out your front doorstep. Where are these feelings at for the people of Chicago?
By this loss, and it's not lost on any of us here that the conditions in which people are showing up in Chicago, they're worse. The last reporter just indicated, they're just dropping all people anywhere. Do you understand how raggedy and how evil that is?
That's
You just gonna
not
put people
raggedy
on a
and it's
bus
not
just take them
evil.
somewhere and drop them off in the middle of the night? And then you want to hold us accountable for something that's happened down at the border?
It's funny that he says that, but you got to think that's the same thing that these people here do.
It's sickening. And so, but just know that our work is not done. But let's be very clear. You know where this is promulgating from, right? You do know that, right? That you have a governor in Texas that can
Stop
care
it,
less
Brandon.
about those families and literally dropping them off, not just in Chicago, but anywhere and everywhere. It's wicked.
I think the governor of Texas just cares more for Texans. He cares more about his people, and he's not going to spend their money to take care of some strangers, some foreigners, some people that hasn't contributed to the society there, hasn't contributed to the local income, hasn't paid any taxes, but they're using up the tax dollars. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know, what do you think about this guy, Brandon Johnson? Is he going to stick around? I think not. I think he's going to go down as one of the worst mayors of Chicago, behind Lori Lightfoot, Richard Daley, and Rahm Emanuel. He will never be a Harold Washington. No way. But like and subscribe to this Shalom ENT YouTube channel. That's CHILOMENT at YouTube. Hey, thank you for your support. You guys have a great day.